If you're holding dollars, Europe is on sale right now. And today I'm going to share with you 7 citizenships that you can get at a deep discount to 1 year ago's prices. 3 of these are direct citizenship programs where within a matter of 6 to 18 months, you can have a passport without changing your lifestyle. Others are residence programs that will lead to citizenship over time. In either case, the euro is down about 18% versus the US dollar year over year. And that means that any kind of donation, real estate deposit, bank deposit, anything you can buy in Europe is now 18% less. If you want the ability to live anywhere in the European Union for you and your children and for the rest of your lives, this is a chance to do so at a deep discount. 18% for the euro, and other European currencies have largely followed that. The exceptions being the Georgian lari and the Armenian dram, which have actually increased against the dollar, while prices there have gone crazy. So those aren't such a good deal. But if you're looking in mainland, Europe, you can find some deals. I'm Andrew Henderson. I'm the founder of Nomad Capitalist. We help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally reduce your taxes, protect your assets, increase your freedom, and grow your opportunities overseas. And so having residence and citizenship in a different part of the world, especially Europe, which I think for some of the challenges in Europe, having access to all the different countries that being a European citizen provides gives you optionality that can be helpful. And so let's get into the deals. The first one, the biggest discount, is for Malta's citizenship program. Malta is in the European Union. It's a country that is not bothering anybody, which is a nice passport to have. And it's a passport that if you think your own high quality passport may not be one you want to keep, is a good one to have, because you can travel pretty much anywhere in the world, including the United States, as a Maltese citizen. It is a 750,000 euro donation. You can spend less if you wanted to drag out an extra 2 years, but it's really not worth it. 750,000 euro donation for the first applicant, and then 50,000 euros for everybody else on top of that. What people don't often understand about this kind of donation-based citizenship is you have to go through extensive due diligence. That costs money. Lawyers cost money. Collecting documents costs money. There are other costs on top of this, and Malta is second to none in terms of those costs because they have the most rigorous program out there. And so the fact is, with the euro less valuable than the dollar now, you are going to save a 6-figure sum over what you would have a year ago. And so if you have a substantial net worth, if you have a very high income, this gives you a lot of optionality. And one of the cool things about being an EU citizen is, for example, you can not only travel all around the world, but you can choose to live in any of the other EU countries, including non-EU countries like Switzerland, where you can cut your lump sum tax bill in half. So if you wanted to move to Switzerland as an American and it was $500,000 in taxes, you could move there as a Maltese citizen and pay $250,000. So essentially you can get an ROI on your citizenship while having that optionality for you and for your children's lives. Living, working, studying, you could save a lot of money by being Maltese. And so that one is a 6-figure discount because of the expense level. You're going to make a big savings on that. The other citizenship by investment program, technically Malta's not a citizenship by investment. They call it the MEIN. It takes 15 to 18 months, but you start with residence. Montenegro is a citizenship program which will end at the end of 2022. So you have to start now. Go do it now. Go to nomadcapitalist.com right now and get some help. Montenegro, anywhere from 250 to 450,000 euros is the investment in what are approved real estate projects. So you're going to generally overpay. I have a home near Porto Montenegro. It is premium pricing because it's a yacht club. It's a beautiful place. And so you're going to pay a premium kind of price that you'd expect anywhere. If you don't mind doing that and you just want to be in the center of the action, then you could buy that. And on top of that, you're going to make a 200,000 euro donation, plus you're going to have some of the extra costs. And so the idea is that Montenegro could join the EU at some point. You'll have the benefits that Malta or other countries offer. I'm not necessarily so sure about that. I think it's a nice sales tactic. It's certainly possible. For the price, I mean, to me, given that the assets are not going to be as liquid as you might expect in your home country's real estate market, I'd almost rather just make the donation and have the certainty in Malta if that's what I'm looking for. I would almost want Montenegro to not be in the EU, just to have a high quality passport that has really increased in value in recent years, and I can live in Europe and I can take advantage of the fact that they are on the euro in Montenegro, and I can save that same 18% off of my investment and off of my donation. Side note is the donation used to be half as much before they decided to extend the program, so you would have been better off doing it at the lower price, but here we are, and so at least it is a lower price. On the residence program front, if you want to work towards citizenship, For the same amount of money, basically, that you're going to invest in Montenegro, anywhere from 280,000 up to 500,000 euros for most people. If you want to put money in the bank, for example, it'll cost you more. But for most folks, you're going to buy real estate, you're going to invest in a venture fund in Portugal, Portugal's Golden Visa program. That's going to be a much slower process. Current time to citizenship, which would include you're learning some basic Portuguese, is probably about 7 years. However, if you're going to invest the minimum, 280,000 euros, that's really the minimum you want to go, honestly, then you're still 18% down. And so if you want the slow way to get to citizenship in the EU, you want a country that is a little bit bigger than Malta. You want a country where it's not known that they just kind of sell you the citizenship, as they say. If you want to have to go through and spend a little bit of time in Portugal and make a few connections there, and you're willing to do that, you're going to have an investment that you can cash out once you have PR, permanent residence, or citizenship. And so you can basically keep your money, unlike in Malta, get it back in the future, and work towards that citizenship. So do I want to make a donation and get citizenship quickly? Right? Do I want to make a call option on Europe in Montenegro, make an okay investment and pay a partial donation? Or do I want to go to Portugal and have, very little fixed costs that are probably going to be covered when I eventually get my investment back? The costs of like the lawyers and all that will be covered by, hopefully, by your investment returns. That's what you've got to figure out. But they're all 18% off. Also, outside of what's called Europe's Schengen area, that's the borderless area. So when you fly to Portugal, for example, you can take a train, or you can drive, I guess, to Spain and then take a train to France, whatever. You can travel within that Schengen area without having to constantly, go through border checkpoints. You get 90 days instead of getting 180 days. Obviously, if you have a citizenship or a golden visa or a residence permit, you can spend unlimited amounts of time there in your country, and then as well have the ability to travel throughout Europe. But outside of the Schengen area is Ireland. They have an opt-out from the Schengen area. And so for folks who want to be in a country that speaks English, Malta speaks English, but Ireland perhaps a little bit closer to home if you're from North America, for example. And so they have what's called a similar, basically, to the Golden Visa, an IIP program. And they've got €500,000 donations, pretty clean, pretty easy, pretty straightforward. They've got a €1 million venture investment in various kind of funds. I don't find them to be very appealing, quite frankly. Or €2 million into REITs, which comes with a bit more due diligence. But quite frankly, the due diligence on all these things is rather high. And so, again, Ireland's in the Eurozone. And so on a €500,000 donation, 18%, you're close to six-figure savings. If you're putting €2 million into REITs, that's going to be a substantial savings, the biggest of all the savings that we're talking about here today. You're going from spending 2.3 something million dollars to under $2 million. And so potentially, you can look at the performance of each of the different REITs, but that's an opportunity where it's much cheaper to get in. And so if you have your cash in dollars, you can convert few of those dollars to get in. And if you believe Irish REITs are the way to go, you can get a residence permit there. The difference in Ireland's residence is that you actually need to live there a substantial amount of time to get citizenship. But once you get that citizenship, it arguably is the best citizenship in the European Union, because it also comes with the common travel agreement that you can actually live in the UK as well, which certainly nobody else in the EU can do anymore. And so those are some places where you can, within the European Union, and potentially one country slated to join the European Union, so they say, get residence or citizenship and diversify yourself. Turkey, part of which is in Europe, has a citizenship by investment program. It is not in the Eurozone, of course. Its currency, the Turkish lira, has dropped dramatically. It is still more expensive. As someone who owns real estate in Europe, it is still dramatically more expensive, actually, in many cases. If you're buying good property, there is not a lot of good property in the inventory, because you have Russians coming, you have lots of people coming, taking advantage of citizenship by investment. You have foreign investment up fivefold in the last number of years. And so Turkey is more expensive than it was a year ago, even though the currency is lower than it was a year ago. And so what we've seen is on a dollar basis, properties are still up, even despite the high inflation, even despite the currency being down. However, if you want a citizenship that does not allow you to visit the rest of Europe, you would need a visa, which is becoming difficult for Turks. If you want a citizenship that's good outside of the Western world, that would be Turkey. And obviously, you can be a dual citizen. So if you're already American, you could be American and Turkish, and you can visit Europe as an American. But Turkey would be kind of an uncorrelated second citizenship that is not under the same kind of school of thought as the United States or Europe or the Western world. They have emerged as kind of an independent voice, whether you like that or not. Wouldn't be the worst thing to have in your portfolio. The challenge is, even though the currency's down and inflation's up, prices in foreign currency terms are still up. If you're buying anything worth buying, if it's cheaper, I would probably avoid that. Buying these little apartment buildings that they're selling at the airport, don't do that. Two other kind of wild cards, which are not on the euro, but often and generally transact property in euro, is in Serbia and in Albania. Generally speaking, if you're willing to put in some time in the country, you can buy property in either of these countries and you can get a residence permit. And so we've talked about in years past, I mean, properties outside of Belgrade and Serbia as low as 10, 15, 20,000 euros. If you go to that part of the world, the same is true of Georgia, for example. I mean, you'll see the capital city prices go crazy. In many other parts of the country, prices remain relatively the same, kind of like where I'm from in Ohio. I mean, prices have gone up, but really not that much. And so the demand outside of those capitals is not huge. So if you want something to kind of be in a country that's more free, they leave you alone. You want something very affordable, you want to grow your own vegetables, just leave me alone. Serbia and Albania allow you to do that. You can buy property on the seaside in Albania, down in, let's say, Saranda or Vlora, 25,000 euros. You're not getting a lot for 25,000 euros. People were complaining earlier this year. But you can buy something. And you can buy stuff for $500 for a square meter of property and up on the Albanian seaside. One hotel general manager told me, who worked for a company that invests all over Europe, he said it's the last hidden gem of European seasides that people still aren't talking about. And so you could buy property there and get a residence permit. If you're an American, you don't need to live there for 5 years to keep it. Everyone else needs to live there to be renewed every year. Those can potentially lead to citizenship, probably a little bit harder, a little bit more uncertainty than, let's say, Portugal or Ireland, where they're going to pretty clearly follow the naturalization rules. But if you want a residence permit and a chance to work towards citizenship in non-EU European countries, Serbia and Albania transact properties in the euro. Serbia's dinar has essentially dropped right alongside the euro, about 18%. Albania's lek has dropped a little bit less, but again, if you're buying property in euro, they're going to target that in euro, even if you end up paying in lek. And so those are 7 places where you can get residence or citizenship directly in Europe, taking advantage of the strong dollars that you hold to save close to 20% year over year and make sure that you're well diversified and giving you and your family more options.